Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Music Theory with Guim. In this installment, we'll be looking into the chromatic mediant relationships found within Chrono Trigger's Black Omen. We'll be looking into 4 separate relationships, and those are C minor to E flat minor, E flat minor to B minor, B minor to G minor, and C minor to A minor. As you can see so far, all of these chords contain a minor quality, and really this entire composition, even the non-chromatic mediant chords, are all of minor quality. Additionally, most chords also incorporate the ninth in some way, such as the add 9 and minor 9. But we'll also be hearing some minor 7 chords. In the intro, we hear 3 add 9 voicings that have all been voiced with a second, or ninth, rubbing against the minor third for some extra tension. They have also been given parallel voicings for the most part, with the only change in the voicing occurring when B minor add 9 hits, and that's because an additional root swells in at the top of the voicing. Most of the chord is descending, but this additional voice is ascending in relation to E flat minor. Let's check out how these 3 sound in succession of one another. We sit on it for 4 measures, with an ostinato swelling in and out. The ostinato references the B minor add 9, but also adds in the major 7th for some extra tension. We can think of this as a B minor major 9, even though we're not hearing all of the information simultaneously. But in case you're not familiar with the minor major 9 sound, let's go ahead and play it with the ostinato and then as one voicing. Following the B minor chord, we get a chromatic mediant relationship of B minor to G minor. Unlike before, however, we are not hearing a pad voicing that is immediately sounding the new chord in its entirety. Instead, the instrumentation changes at this point, and we don't actually hear the G's chord quality until beat 3. Initially, we only hear the root and 5th, but since we have already had so many minor chords in sequence, it's not surprising to hear the minor quality again. At this point, we're also introduced to a new voicing, and we now have a full minor 9 chord. The minor 2nd rub remains intact, but it is now at the bottom of the voicing, with the 5th and 7th stacked atop it. The melody in the A section is mostly playing on the tensions found within the G minor 9 chord, but since we do hear an E natural pop up, we can view this segment as a G Dorian groove. Since we stay on the G minor chord for the entirety of the A section, it isn't until the B section that we hear another chromatic mediant relationship. But since it's C minor to E flat minor, it's a relationship that we have already heard. This time, however, the chords have been given 7ths, making for a full minor 9 chord, and the mood surrounding the chords is quite a bit different than before thanks to the change in energy and instrumentation. Instead of getting the full minor 9 voicing at once, we instead hear the 9th and minor 3rd bounce back and forth. This makes for a little bit more movement to listen to versus hearing the same voicing over and over again on top of the rhythmic phrasing. And since parallel motion has been applied again, this stays true for both C minor 9 and E flat minor 9. When the melody enters, we hear the softer tensions of each chord being brought out. On both chords, we're hearing the root, 9th, and 7th in the primary melody. Even the harmonizing line brings out softer tensions. With it, we hear the 4th, 5th, and 7th. Additionally, the melody is voiced in mostly 4ths, which has a really open sound, and that affects how we're going to hear the overall color of the chord. But even though the same extensions are being used on each chord in the melodies on each chords differ. On C minor, the melody curves downward, whereas on E flat minor, it curves upward. as a result, we're hearing more colors of C minor 11 to E flat minor 11. So let's listen to how these extensions make a difference in comparison to the introductions voicings for C minor and E flat minor. After the second pass of the melody, we get into a passage of chromatic chords moving by half steps. And even though this next section contains chords that are not directly connected by a chromatic mediant relationship, we can still hear that that's being emphasized. At first, we hear E flat minor descend down to C minor, which is a relationship that we have already heard. The next one is a little bit of a stretch, and that's because getting from C minor to A minor takes a little bit more time. The reason is because instead of going straight down to A minor, we pause for a moment on B flat minor before finally getting to it. You can decide to not view this as a chromatic mediant since the passage is stretched out, but since A minor is the primary target and is heavily emphasized in the following section, I still think of the underlying relationships being E flat minor to C minor and then C minor to A minor. This is why we can hear some tension on B flat minor 7 that has a gravitational pull towards A minor 7. At least that's how my ears are perceiving this moment. But let's listen to it so you can decide for yourself. When the A minor groove hits, we get the same voicing repeated in the piano, which is again the 5th, 7th, and 3rd. But what is interesting here is that the bass groove hits E flat rather than E natural. I don't perceive this as being an entirely new chord, such as C major over E flat, but instead I hear it just emphasizing a darker chromatic tension for a dramatic effect. Considering the whole devil's interval surrounding the tritone and this theme being Black Omen, I can definitely see that being the case. But if you feel compelled to slap a chord symbol on it, go ahead. After A minor, we chromatically move up to B minor, and then we're setting up the loop to repeat again. This is almost identical to the B minor in the introduction, except it doesn't have an add 9 voicing in it. But the 9th is still contained within the ostinato. This wraps up everything I want to currently discuss regarding Black Omen. If you happen to have any questions, drop a comment below or reach out to me on Patreon. Otherwise, please like and share the video and subscribe to the channel so you can keep up to date with future uploads. And if you'd like to upgrade your support, please check out my Patreon and consider contributing. You'll get the added bonus of being able to keep up with all the transcriptions I upload between videos, and you can also influence transcriptions as well as analyses in the future. But until next time, this has been another episode of Music Theory with Guim.